This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
You know, during the off-season period, especially in the off-season between OTAs and the start of training camp, there tends to be certain stories that pop up that are just to try to keep people engaged and aren't really like based in truth. And the one that I've seen pop up amongst my comment section enough to where I felt like it was necessary to actually address it in a video is this idea that Shedeur Sanders is going to get traded by the Cleveland Browns. Now, I have checked back with people who are in the know. They have heard nothing close to this being even a thing that they're even thinking about. And I generally think that these rumors come from speculation that aggregate accounts turn into reports, right? Like if Mary Kay is speculating on how the Browns are going to keep all four quarterbacks on the roster, and somebody's like, Mary Kay suggests that the Browns, and then it turns into a report instead of it just being speculation. And then people kind of run with it and want it to seem real because that's going to make more people react to it. But the truth is, Shedeur Sanders is not going to get traded, at least before training camp or even during training camp. And I would find it highly unlikely that he gets traded after training camp. Now, let's talk about why I think that these are kind of ridiculous rumors and why the ideal of Shedeur getting traded is silly no matter who's pushing it for whatever reason. There's multiple ways to look at it. The first thing that makes me think that these rumors are just nonsense are the Browns traded 2 6th-round picks for Shedeur Sanders. Now, that's not nothing, right? It's not just a stab in the dark. It's not like the most high investment that you can put in a player, right? It's not like they took him at 2. But it is something, right? If you put those 2 6th-round picks that they traded in the Fitz-Spielberger chart, it's the equivalent of like a late 3rd-round pick, which is similar to what they spent on Dylan Gabriel. This means he's not a normal 5th-round pick. Like, he's not just going to be discarded. And even then, if he was a 5th-round pick, this is a Cleveland Browns team that has been hesitant to cut undrafted signings, let alone draft picks. So the idea that the Browns are going to let go of a draft pick or trade him, especially when there's really no reason to do so, I think is a bit silly, right? There's also this idea that he's going to get cut. I find that unlikely. Maybe if the Browns feel like they can sneak him on the practice squad, that might be something that they try to do. I don't think that's going to be something that they feel like they can do. The Browns are going to look at quarterbacks on rookie deals at a premium while they're trying to get off of this Deshaun Watson contract this year and next year. I don't see them sacrificing a quarterback rookie deal unless it is absolutely necessary that they have to. And what I mean by that is if Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel get themselves in trouble that requires the Browns to cut them, right, off the field. That, to me, is the only reason they would get rid of a rookie contract at this point at the quarterback position. They're going to be paying $45 million a year to Deshaun Watson over these next 2 seasons, and they're going to be taking that cap hit over these next 2 seasons, which means that the quarterback room, even if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, which he won't, is still going to be very expensive. So you want to keep expenses as low as possible. A rookie deal at quarterback is the best way to keep it as low as possible, because even somebody like Kenny Pickett, if he proves that he could be a fringe starter, would cost you like $8 million a year, right? Like Joe Flacco's deal could potentially cost you 10. Quarterbacks are not cheap. So if you have quarterbacks on rookie deals to fill out that room, you're going to want to use those quarterbacks on their rookie deals as much as possible. So Not only has Shedeur Sanders been traded for, they have already showed that they want to invest in him in some level longer than 2 months. And that's what the draft picks show you. But also, when it comes to this, is that it just doesn't make financial sense to get rid of Shedeur Sanders, whether it's trading him or cutting him, because why get rid of a rookie contract at the quarterback position when you don't have to, right? Like, if you don't want Shedeur to play, you could just make him your third string quarterback, right? Like, there are ways to get around it. You don't have to trade him or cut him. So yeah, just any way, any angle I can look at it. The fact that they traded the 2 6-round picks to get him, right? They moved up to get him, which shows that they did prioritize him over other players on their board. And that means that they added more than just what is that 5th-round pick that they spent on him to get him. So there's that with Shedeur. So, yeah. That's number one reason I don't think they're going to cut him. He got drafted here. They traded up to get him. Why in the world would they trade him now? Makes no sense to me. The second thing that I hear whenever I press people on like this whole they think Shedeur is going to get traded thing is, well, the Browns aren't going to keep 4 quarterbacks, right? That's the main thing people get back to. And one, are we sure the Browns aren't going to keep 4 quarterbacks? Like, would that be the wildest thing? If the Browns kept 4 quarterbacks, they kept 3 last year, right? So keeping 4, would it really be crazy? Like, look at where this team is at this point. I'm predicting this team's probably going to be about 7 to 8 wins, right? Maybe 9 if things go right for them. If they get good field goal kicking, right? If they get good quarterback play, maybe they could be a 10-win team. But the truth is, this is not a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl this season, which means why would they be super strict on position allotments for their roster? That makes sense when you're trying to maximize every single last position group on the roster to be able to get that little bit advantage that can get you past the team in the playoffs or to the Super Bowl eventually, right? But when you're not one of those teams, then why would you be like, oh, we're only going to keep 2 quarterbacks so we can keep extra special teams guys, right? If you have room to keep, ultimately you can keep 4 quarterbacks. There's no rule in the NFL telling you cannot keep 4 quarterbacks, and the Browns can find different ways to stash players to allow them to keep 4 quarterbacks. I don't see why they can't do it. They can easily do it. I really wouldn't be surprised if they do it. And even if they didn't want to keep 4 quarterbacks, they're definitely going to keep 3 quarterbacks. And the odd man out in a 3-quarterback room situation would probably be one of the more expensive veteran quarterbacks for all of the things that I said previously, right? Rookie deals are at a premium for this team. They need cheap quarterback play over the next couple of years. And Joe Flacco is going to require, an incentive-based contract if you sign him, if you keep him throughout the regular season. And Kenny Pickett could eventually, I think he's at a 1.2 base on his rookie deal. This is the last year of his rookie deal, and then you have to sign him to some kind of deal after that if you want to keep him. So those are the 2 expensive options, right? And if you're the Browns, it makes sense to pit those 2 against each other in camp, see who comes out on top, and whoever comes out on top is the guy you keep, and the other guy you just cut. It makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know why that doesn't make more sense to more people. If it doesn't make sense to you, please articulate it in the comment section below. But this idea that the Browns can't possibly keep 4 quarterbacks, one, I think is flawed. I think there's a chance that they could keep 4 quarterbacks. I really wouldn't be surprised. And 2, the assumption that one of the rookies would be gone because they want to keep 3 quarterbacks, I think is also flawed, because they're going to value those rookie deals. They're going to value the youth and the upside of those players more than they're going to value a 41-year-old or or Kenny Pickett on the last year of his rookie deal, right? So that all screams to me that the Browns are in a situation where those 2 veterans are going to battle out. Let's say they cut Joe Flacco, right? Kenny Pickett beats out Joe Flacco for the quarterback job. then they will probably try to sign Kenny Pickett to the practice squad or find another veteran if they can't keep Kenny Pickett on the practice squad. That would make a ton of sense. The reason Kenny Pickett would be on the practice squad would be if Joe Flacco is out and you have a week to prepare, you can elevate Kenny Pickett off the practice squad, put Joe Flacco on the injury report. He's not going to play, and then boom, have 3 quarterbacks going into Sunday, right? Like it makes a ton of sense to me. The Browns have done this before, right? And if Kenny Pickett's the one that gets cut, then they'll probably go out and try to get Jacoby Brissett on their practice squad, or Bailey Zapp or Jameis Winston, some veteran backup quarterback that they could start in a game week if something happens to their starter, which would be Joe Flacco in this scenario. There's a lot of people talking about this quarterback room and how the Browns are going to manage it, but never mentioning the practice squad. I think that's a mistake. The practice squad is going to be one of the main tools the Browns use to manage having a larger quarterback room. If the past tells us anything, this is definitely something that they use. The Browns have utilized it a ton before, right, with PJ Walker and Joe Flacco previously. The reason you can't put Joe Flacco on the practice squad, by the way, is because the Browns used up all his practice squad eligibility in 2023. So the practice squad's going to factor into whatever it is that the Cleveland Browns do at the quarterback position. And that means that it don't really matter that there's 4 quarterbacks, right? I know some people bring up the 4 quarterback things on going into training camp. It's not uncommon to have 4 quarterbacks going into training camp. What is uncommon is that people think that all 4 of these quarterbacks are competing for the starting job, right? I think that's what makes it feel more uncommon. But in reality, I don't think all 4 quarterbacks are competing for the starting job. I think Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett are competing for the starting job. And they're leaving the door open for Dylan Gabriel and maybe even Shedeur Sanders, right? But the plan is Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. Now, the thing with Joe Flacco is that he's old. He's not going to take up a ton of reps in training camp. So you're not going to even have a rep shortage, right, when you get to training camp. You're going to have Kenny Pickett. You're going to have Dylan Gabriel. And you're going to have Shedeur Sanders to be able to eat up all the reps in camp. I don't get what's so strange about this, right? Maybe the way it's been presented is a little strange. Maybe the way it's been marketed to folks has been strange, right? Because, you know, in order to get people excited about it, you got to make them think that Shedeur is going to get a chance and Dylan is. And again, I think they're going to leave the door open for them, right? I don't think they're going to close the door shut on these guys just outright winning the competition. But let's be real here. We know the actual competition is between Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, right? Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur, they are spoilers potentially, but they're not really in the conversation for who's going to start week 1 for a number of reasons, right? That I've already discussed on this channel, but if you need the too long didn't read version of it, look at the first 6 games of the Browns schedule and tell me that's what you want to start a rookie against. I don't think that's what I would want to start a rookie against. So yeah, the 4 quarterback thing, which is the main-sided thing about why the Browns must get rid of Shedeur or why they have to consider a trade for Shedeur, I think is just wrong. Like, I think people are just overreacting to it, or maybe their emotions about the Sanders family is getting involved in this, or maybe they are Sanders family fans and they want Shedeur off this team for whatever reason, right? I don't think it matters that the Browns are going to have 4 quarterbacks in camp. They might keep 4 quarterbacks during the season. It's not really the biggest deal in the world. And let's be real about what this competition is. It's between Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and it's probably a loser leaves town situation, right? Like, that's what it is. Will they give Dylan Gabriel some first-team reps? Probably. Will they give Shedeur Sanders some first-team reps? Probably. But that's more for them to evaluate those two and see where they're at, and see if the door needs to be open even wider for them in this quarterback competition. But more than likely, the main evaluation is going to be between Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Like, when they're going up against ones in joint practice, you're probably going to see Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett take the bulk of those reps because that's who the competition is actually between. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett. That's the competition. Everybody else can play spoiler into that competition, but let's be real about what's going on with the quarterback room. You can like that, you can not like that. I'm just telling you what's going on with that room. Number 3, reason why I think it's silly for people to really think that Shedeur is going to get traded. Who is actually going to trade for Shedeur Sanders? Like, no disrespect to Shedeur Sanders, but let's be real about what happened to him in the draft. And you can have your thoughts on it. You could think it happened for one reason or the other, but the bottom line in that situation is that for whatever reason you want to account it to, there was not a market to add Shedeur Sanders to the 32 football teams in the NFL within the first 4 rounds of the draft. That is an objective fact. Like, that is the most objective fact that you can have. That was proven. Whatever reason you want to attribute it to, you can attribute it to. I don't care. But 32 teams decided 4 times or more that they did not want Shedeur Sanders in the first 4 rounds of that draft. So where exactly is this market for Shedeur Sanders being created from? Right? The draft already proved, again, you can attribute it to whatever you want, but the draft already proved that there's not an insane market to add Shedeur Sanders to a football team. The market is not there. So exactly where is this market coming from? Is there like another group of teams that are willing to trade for Shedeur that we don't know about, that aren't a part of the NFL, that weren't a part of the NFL draft? Like, the market was proven not to be there for Shedeur Sanders during the draft. So what exactly is going to change everybody's mind? Minicamp? A good training camp? You think that's going to change everybody's mind? Everybody went dead set. We don't want to take this guy in the first 4 rounds, but then they're going to be moved off training camp. What's likely here is that in order to move anybody off of whatever they felt in the draft, it's going to take regular season games and production from Shedeur Sanders during this season. So I don't think Shedeur Sanders really can even accumulate trade value until he plays this year, right? That's the truth of it. The teams have already decided what they feel like his trade value is, and it's not very high. The Browns were the one team willing to trade up for him. So the idea that the Browns are going to then flip him for less value doesn't make very much sense to me when the rookie contract already carries more value than the Browns can get back for Shedeur Sanders. There's just not a market to trade for Shedeur Sanders, right? Even if the Browns wanted to do it, which I do not think they want to do, who's going to trade for him? Like, realistically, who's going to trade for him? Teams already told you what they feel about him. That's why he's in Cleveland. That's why he got to be drafted in the 5th round by Cleveland. Teams told you they didn't want him for whatever reason, right? In the first 4 rounds of the draft, and even a few picks into the 5th round. So where exactly is this market coming from? You can be a Shedeur fan or not. You got to accept that, right? Like, I've seen, and it's funny because I think some of the trade stuff is actually coming from people who don't want Shedeur on the team, right? Like, instead of it being from the Shedeur fan base. I'm not really keeping up with the inner workings of this. I just know that people have been commenting this nonstop on my videos. And yeah, that's the thing I always come back to is like, who is even going to want to trade for Shedeur? And that's no disrespect to him. It's just we know what happened to him in the draft, and we know that teams aren't going to change their mind based off of practice. It's going to take games, production in the NFL in order for teams to move off of whatever they were worried about with him in the pre-draft. That's just how that works, right? Like, it requires you to live in these two realities at the same time, right? This is what I just don't think makes sense about this idea that Shedeur is going to be traded. You have to believe on one hand that he's been so concerning to Cleveland that they're willing to trade a guy they drafted 2 months ago before camp starts. And then you also have to be in the same belief that other teams have been so blown away by what he's done in OTAs that they don't even care what happened before the draft. Like, those two things don't make sense together. He's not going to get traded. Number 4, why would the Browns want to trade him now? Like I said earlier, his trade value isn't going to be up until he actually plays. So why would the Browns trade him before he even has a chance to move his value up? I don't see why they would do that. Most people cite like his popularity on why the Browns would want to trade him, but the Browns knew he was popular when they traded for him. They can't be surprised by this. His speeding issues, I've talked about them. I think they're silly and irresponsible, but that's not enough to make me want to just give up on the guy entirely. Like, that's ridiculous. And like, why would you trade somebody who you took a flyer on before you even see what you got, right? It's like, why would you sell a scratch off ticket for less money than you bought it for if you ain't even scratched it off yet? Like, what's the point? What's the point? Why did you even buy the ticket in the first place? It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. And I know some people are going to default to, well, the Browns don't make sense. That's not true. Andrew Berry's trades, for the most part, are trades that have made sense. Most NFL trades, even from organizations that I do not believe to be competent, have logic behind them. They just don't do shit just to do it, right? And this idea that Shedeur is going to be traded, I think, reeks of just people just saying stuff, regardless of if it makes sense for anybody in those situations to do it. The reality is that the Browns took Shedeur Sanders to take a flyer on him. I don't think they're planning on him starting soon for the team. I think they're trying to develop him, see if he could develop into a starter eventually, right? Put him in that DTR role where they develop him over a couple of years. I don't think this is a one-year experiment for them. While that's going on, they're probably going to take chances of trying to find a quarterback answer somewhere else too while they're doing that, depending on how that goes. But they're probably going to keep Shedeur on the roster for the length of his rookie deal, or at least for the first 2 years of his rookie deal, before they decide to do anything with him. So talking about him being traded now is just pointless. He's not going to be traded anytime soon. But that's my thoughts on it. I just felt like that should be addressed because I just was trying to figure out, why do people talk about this like it's something that makes sense? I can't figure it out. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.